We're live.
All right, welcome everybody teaching crypto. Please hit that like, that subscribe, bell notification. Super chats are open. All right, Mr. FOMO, been a while again, but not very good news since we've been gone. Hit 74 last night, did bounce back to 78K for Bitcoin. So I wouldn't say that's good news overall, but at least it's given you something. But we've pretty much been on the same track here. We've said bear market and most likely outcome. Maybe the cycles are over, but the last few weeks have told us that's probably we're not we probably haven't broken through the cycles, right? You talked about getting over 100 at sometime in the first 2 months of 26. It's tough to do when you're in the 70s. Now we did bounce, 74 was supposed to be huge support last night. It got to 74, around 74, 550, and it did bounce back this morning to 78. That might be brief relief. We'll have to find out. But you see this chart here, not ideal at all.
No, and I think people should be held to account for some of the things that they've been saying about Bitcoin. I mean, there were a few celebrity types that were saying, or politicians or politician related people that were saying that we were going to 200 and there were big things coming for Bitcoin. And we were telling you the most likely outcome was that we were headed towards crypto winter. So yeah, it's not great to see, but the cycles aren't broken, like we said.
Well, we did get up to 97K. Was that the run towards 100? Because I always was anticipating a run towards 100K sometime before March 2026. The question is, was that it, or do we still have one more brief hot spot before things go below 70K into the 60s and probably most likely into the high 50s? I don't think Bitcoin's going under 35K, but Michael Saylor's buying more today. Michael Saylor right now single-handedly is keeping Bitcoin above 75. Seriously. I mean,
Well, my target is in the 60s. I'm going to begin DCAing again once we get down there.
Yeah. It's going to take a while to play out though. That's what it's not going to hit 60K tomorrow. It's not going to hit 45K by Friday. There's going to be ups and downs. It's not going to go straight down to 45K. Like we did see that push to 97. But we couldn't get over that 100. That 100 is a huge psychological barrier. So we'll see over the next couple months. But the alts though are looking prime. So this is why you actually want to start watching the show more often now, because this is where the money is made. If you remember, some of our audience members bought Solana at 20 and rode the train all the way up over 200 last time for a 10x. We had some viewers thank us. Well, Solana right now, for the first time, it was actually got to 100 last night. It's at 102. But Solana some alts could go down significantly from here over the next 10 months.
It will.
So you should if you can get SOL at 20 or 30, not financial advice, and you believe that I don't think all the alts are dead. This is where we might disagree. I think there are a few that will still be good buys now some of the really, really small ones I wouldn't touch, right? But Solana right now, I'm looking at 100. I'd like to see it probably below 40 for me to really get interested. So we're not quite there yet. XRP is at 164. I'd like to see XRP get all the way down to the 50-cent range. So we're a ways away from that. But those are the type, and one that I'm following the most, Mr. FOMO, is Injective. Injective, all-time high, right, was crazy. All-time high, you're talking about in the 40s, right? Injective right now is at 361. Do you know what Injective's market cap is right now? 361 million. If I can get Injective at around $1 or $1.50, I'm a very, very interested buyer. So this is the tough time where you want to be patient, but when you seize an opportunity, right? Because Injective might hit a 150 in 2 months. It might be 3 months. It might be 4 months. It might be 5 months. And then you're going to have to be patient. because I don't think Bitcoin fully recovers till sometime in 2027, where it really goes to the upswing towards 2028. But you're not going to get injective at a dollar 2 years from now, or a dollar 50 2 years from now. But no, not financial advice. You pick up injective at a dollar and you can sell it at 20 12 months later. It's that those are in the cards. It's risky, but I do believe that some of these alts will bounce back. I truly believe that because they're going to go down so much that it's not going to take that much for them to show recovery. And you don't have to wait till injective gets to 20. You could sell it at $3 or when it gets back to $4. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'm not saying that altcoins are never going to come back, but as long as Bitcoin is on the way down, altcoins are also on
Oh
the way
yeah.
down.
There's more downside. That's what I'm saying. There's more downside. Now would not be
So,
the time to
but
go
I
in.
will be DCAing into some of my favorite alts and to some brand new alts as well when we get to the bottom, or when we get closer to the bottom. I think when we get into the 60s with Bitcoin, I'm going to start looking around at some of these altcoins. Um, but the problem now is that the altcoins will move with Bitcoin. And, you know, that's with Solana, it's a double edged sword. I love Solana as an investment. But Solana is the place where all these meme coins are being produced. And that's one of the problems with the market. And one of the
Well, yeah,
reasons why I don't think altcoins are ever going to make a comeback the way that we want or need them to,
no,
because the market is
you're
so
gonna have to
diluted.
you're gonna have to select a few. Um, I was gonna say ETH is all the way down to 2,300 this morning. I would love to see an 18 to 1,500 ETH. That would be something that I'd be very interested. So ETH's down. ETH's kind of gone down a bit quicker if you really think about it. I can't see ETH going all the way down to 1,000. That would be a sensational buy, really. If you, I don't think it's going down that much, but I could see ETH hitting 1,800 pretty soon in the next couple months, maybe even 1,500. And that one, I think, in the last bear market, ETH, I don't know if you remember, but there was a brief moment where, with during the bear market where things went well. ETH actually jumped from 1,000 to 2,000 in less than a month. So ETH under 2,000, I would say, if you're a believer in ETH and you think it's going to 10K in 2 years, that's where you're gonna think about buying.
Again, I'm fine with ETH. Um, I think it's a great buy. It's the number two coin on the market outside of Bitcoin. And when we talk about, we really shouldn't compare Bitcoin and the altcoins. We should talk about them separately. So I'd say it's the number one altcoin on the market for now, until Solana has something to say about that. But yeah, ETH is going to make a comeback. So these are relatively safe buys when we get closer to the bottom.
All right. I'm not going to leave the show without touching. There was a huge drop. Some have already been redacted. It's hilarious to me that when they drop these files, someone comes back and goes, "Oh my God, we got to redact these." Like these these people work for. How do you redact something? Wait, you didn't redact it enough. I'm sorry, you gave out too much information. So, Mr. Fromo, I know you've been busy, but some of the stuff that has been there have been world leaders that have resigned in other countries based on what happened last Thursday and Friday. And this to me is shocking. Deputy Attorney Todd Blanche, what a loser, what a complete fraud, signals there will be no new charges brought in the investigation of Jeffrey Epstein. You have some startling evidence here that is shocking from both. Forget about it's not just Trump. Yeah, Trump looks horrible right now, but it's Bush, it's Clinton, it's a lot of other influential people in this country, and you're not even going to look into it because you don't want people to know who's really involved. It's coming out now that there's a lot of smoke, and I've been saying this. Jeffrey Epstein was working for the Mossad, folks. Do your research. They don't want you to know. You're not going to see mainstream media report this, and that is why you're not going to. I mean, you have evidence here of one of the biggest cover-ups in United States history, and you're not going to touch it? Are you kidding me?
Well, explain to our viewers who the Mossad is.
Obviously the Mossad works for Israel, okay? And the theory is that Epstein was running this island to really be able to blackmail anybody, right? And that's like, how does a math teacher become a multi-billionaire, have his own island, and meet every not every influential, all these influential leaders by accident? Someone's driving that. You don't
Yeah,
go
we certainly
do
have.
math.
This is certainly a disgusting thing, and still to this day, we only have a woman being held to account for all of this, which is even more sickening. Um, but my feeling on this is, if you're on the list, or if somebody's on the list, I don't care who they are, put them in jail.
Well, you gotta do research. You gotta prosecute, bring them in, talk to them. I mean, but here's the thing: Kash Patel's lied. He said there was zero evidence. Remember that? They had that fake photo op where they gave people binders full of like just blank papers, and those people were holding them up. That what a disgrace. I mean, but this is part of it though. Like the reason why I'm bringing this back, it's funny because in the files, Epstein tells people not to buy Bitcoin because he supposedly tried to get contact with Bitcoin developers, and people are saying, "Oh, this proves Satoshi wa- uh, was working with Epstein, or he knew Epstein." No, it doesn't. Just be careful with those things. That's not true. But it's it's shocking to me the lack of accountability. I mean, these are horrible crimes. I just remember how upset people were with Joe Paterno, but this is a much higher level because it's not a sports celebrity and it's a and they're politicians. You're willing to let it go? I mean, this should be on the cover of every newspaper, at the top of every news story, but it's not. And that's shocking to me.
And let's be clear, not all of the documents have been released.
Most of them have been redacted. Most of them are yeah, that's that.
So you're not even getting all of the information that should be handed out to us. You've gotten, I forget what I was reading. I read an article briefly that said a lot of this stuff is from um, 2016 and beyond. So this is from people who were calling in and, saying that
Well,
they were offering up,
the
their
victims have been pretty
a lot
much
of
the
the victims
victims.
being.
Sadly, some of the victims are dead, or they've been pretty much been ignored. Thomas Massey is one politician, and Ro Khan on both sides of the aisle that are demanding that more of this stuff gets released. But people are scared. That's the sad part. Other people are scared to jump in because they're afraid of who they're going to offend. I mean, it's
It's
just
unfortunate.
well, it's unfortunate, but how do you have any credibility as a country if you don't investigate this? I
You
mean,
don't. On the
you
world stage, we're not looking very good right now.
I mean, it's people can read. It's not 1995, that and most
People
there are
could read in 1995.
there are a lot of people that are not. This is why you say you got to be careful, right? People say don't buy Bitcoin because someone told me not to do it, or the government's not telling me it's a great idea. Well, in this case, we have an administration that technically is pro Bitcoin, but they're doing it just to enrich themselves. That's a whole nother show. We've talked about, did that kind of spoil the bull market? But it's you got to do your own research more now than ever, um, because you just see here there's so much that you haven't been told. And it's not just about conspiracy theories. It's about why are these stories not being told that used to be told 30, 40, 50 years ago, right? That's, the old days of Walter Cronkite getting to the news, wanting to report the news. Unfortunately, now that's not happening. And, It's not completely related to crypto, but man, this show is about financial freedom. But how are you free if the people that are destroying the dollar are constantly lying to you? That's all I have to say. I had to get that off my chest.
Yeah, I would agree that this is kind of a stretch when it comes to Bitcoin, but when you're talking about believing people and believing what they're into and believing
Oh,
their overall message when they are lying to you like this,
oh, I
makes
mean,
it hard.
long term, it's good for Bitcoin because the dollar keeps on getting the power of the dollar keeps on getting slowly destroyed. And these are the people that have done it. I mean, theoretically, Bitcoin shouldn't need to exist, but because the dollar has been just the purchasing power of the dollar has just been devastated over the past 10 years, 20 years really, but specifically in the last 10. It's just insane. I mean, you recently went to get a new car. It's not like it was 20 years ago. It's not like it was 15 years ago. It's, you know, some people can't afford housing right now. And so why that might be one reason why they're not going and buying alts. But we
It
talked
is
about
why it
yeah.
is. I mean, aside from the fact that the market is so diluted that you can't
Mhm.
really play the market like you used to. You can't play the market like you used to. Um, People just don't have the money. We were talking about the last real bull run was in 2020, 2021, when we were in the middle of COVID. And if for those of you who don't remember, we were getting stimulus checks, we were stuck at home, you couldn't go to restaurants, you couldn't go shopping, you couldn't go anywhere. So people had all this extra money in their pockets and they didn't know what to do with it. And so it
Well,
made sense to invest a lot of it, and that's what they did. But now we have a complete 180 when it comes to the economy.
I
People are struggling in the
and
supermarket,
I do
let
think
alone the crypto market.
I do believe this. Before we really see extreme more downside, I think Bitcoin will do. Before we leave, I do think there'll be some slight Bitcoin recovery here. Actually, the CME gap is 84K, so that would suggest just this week you could see an 84K Bitcoin. Not giving
And
financial advice,
I
but
believe I believe I saw a headline that said Binance cleared all of their shorts.
well, that could be another show because Binance talked about buying $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and the next day they got caught selling $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
I don't know if Binance is to be trusted. We did a show, we talked about who was responsible for October 10th, and all signs point to Binance. I mean, since that guy has gotten out of jail, it hasn't been good for the market. I'll just say that. Like it is like so, you announce over the weekend, I forgot to add this into the show, that you're going to buy $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and then you get caught because people can trace your wallets selling $1 billion instead. The funny thing is, hey, we're buying $1 billion of Bitcoin. Someone did the research and found out they had unloaded uh, quite more the previous week. So you're just buying back Bitcoin you already sold and
Yeah.
making it sound like you're some kind of hero. But Michael Saylor will buy Bitcoin today. Look, it would not shock me if Bitcoin got back above 90K in February before we get. Usually, what happens is if this history kind of repeats, we have a bit of an upswing here, February into March, and then by end of March, things just go completely haywire. Last time it was the Luna, the 3AC, all the bankruptcies that hit, and this summer you're going to see, even though the weather's going to be warmer outside, you're going to see true crypto winter starting probably.
You're going to see
Yeah,
some of
yeah.
these altcoins disappear
That's
completely.
when it hits. Right now, we might get a rebound, and don't get trapped. Our next show will be talking about be careful because you might get 2 to 3 weeks of hot action, and people are going to be calling for, oh, here we go again. So just be very careful. All right, we went much
Dead cat
longer than
bounce.
we intended because we had a lot to talk about. All right, Mr. FOMO, we'll see you soon. This is AZ Crypto saying, please hit that like, that subscribe bell notification. Super chats are open. We'll see you guys in the future.